Hello my creative friends and welcome back to my channel. I'm Elisabetta, an Italian watercolor artist with a passion and a curiosity for art supplies. Today we are continuing our adventure into the Cobalt family, exploring blue. I thought the Cobalt Blue was PB28 and actually the majority of my colors are PB28, but I have some siblings. And I have some Cobalt Blue that are PB74, and that's dark Cobalt Blue. And then I have some Cobalt Blue that use the name Cobalt Blue, but with another pigment, which is PB36. In my next video, we will go through Cerulean Blue, which is another extension of the Cobalt Blue family, but for today we are just exploring the Cobalt Blue. Okay, let's start from Winsor and Newton. It's the one that I have in my go-to palette. It's well used, as you see. Cobalt is a lovely color to have. Unfortunately, it's a bit misunderstood. I have the feeling that ultramarine or phthalo are more well loved these days, but this color reminds me of bone china, fine porcelain. It's a color that was used in the old days for decorating bone china, actually. It has this wonderful granulation. And this is Winsor and Newton, which for me, Winsor and Newton is always a guarantee of great professional colors. Beautiful. Then we go with Rembrandt. Rembrandt is a very reliable brand. It's a brand that I really like very much because it has a fantastic range, value for money, the price point is acceptable, the quality is extraordinary, and it's very serious but also exciting brand with some delightful colors. And I think this is slightly greener. Yes, this Rembrandt is darker. You know, you never realize the differences among brands unless you really swatch them side by side. But now that I see them side by side, this is slightly greener and darker. It's also nice, but maybe this Winsor and Newton is prettier. Then I have this bulky Lukas. Lukas has this value for money proposition. It's also a very serious German brand, although the colors, this paint is made in the UK. As I told you in a previous video, Lukas is now part of the Italian group Fila. They own Arche, Canson, Lukas, Maimeri, they own Daleroni. So I think that it's made by Daleroni. And this is the artist grade range Lukas 1862. And this is also a very reliable brand. I like to paint with Lukas. And it's very nicely granulating. And it's once again a different shade from the previous two. I thought the Cobalt PB28 was very consistent across brands. Now we have swatched 3 brands, 3 different hues. Old Holland, I have it squeezed in a pan. In my This set. Old Holland has beautiful colors, but the smell once you pour them in a pan is very, very bad. And this is Old Holland, always PB28. I love the cloudy. Old Holland has this cloudy texture that I really like very, very much. This also is greener. It's the greenest. It has a almost a phthalo background, but it's cobalt. Okay. Now Daniel Smith. We are going through PB28, the vast majority is PB28. It's so cheerful, Cobalt Blue, don't you think so? It's the perfect blue for sky for me. And I love the granulation. Granulation is very subjective, not everyone likes it. I love it. This doesn't seem to be very granulating, this Daniel Smith. But we must maybe wait to add more water and let it dry. No, it is granulating. Oh, lovely one. This is sky blue. M-gram. M-gram is a joy to use. It's so soft. I have recently swatched a cobalt set of M-gram. It was such a lovely surprise, the adorable feeling of swatching this paint. And here it is. Must be said that Cobalt Blue, although very light, fast, an excellent pigment, PB28, is also very expensive, like most cobalt colors. It has a dry shift, so it's difficult to judge wet paint side by side with some paint that it is already dry. We must really wait until the roll dry, but you see the difference in hue. Daniel Smith is warmer, leans toward red, and M-gram is more toward green. I have the feeling, just like Rembrandt. It's also darker, just like Rembrandt. They're very much the same, M-gram and Rembrandt. Now, Sennelier, one of my love brands. Okay, Sennelier is really one of my love brands. I find it so traditional, so professional. Wow, too much paint. Sennelier. Sennelier is always a delight because just like M-gram, I think it's made with honey. And it adds, honey adds a softness that is very, very pleasant to use. And this also, this different, you perceive it only when you swatch it side by side with other brands. And this is a wonderful, intense color. Then I go to my pans, Paul Rubens. I think that Paul Rubens is a bit underrated. I think that the problem with Paul Rubens is that their paint, it's vibrant when you swatch it, but but often there is a larger drying shift. And this is also very different from the previous ones. Very granulating. I don't know, I don't have the feeling this is PB28, although they declare PB28. I don't know, I'm not sure. There is a touch of tallow. It's greener in any case. Sennelier is dark, just like Daniel Smith and Rembrandt. Then White Night from my White Night set. White Night, you know that has a great value for money positioning because it's definitely artist grade, maybe not as intense as the best brands, but it's very good paint with a very affordable price. But now that you see it side by side, doesn't have the same intensity of other brands. It's less pigmented. In any case, I have a White Night brand new box to swatch and review, but until the war is continuing, I will not review a White Nights box. I will not review Russian product, I'm sorry to say, but I definitely stand for Ukraine. That's why now we're swatching Rosa Gallery. Rosa Gallery is this beautiful set that I bought from Ukraine. It's gorgeous paint. Definitely fill the void left by White Nights. I think it has a superior paints compared to White Nights. Very affordable price, and you support Ukraine. This is Cobalt Blue by Rosa Gallery. Rosa Gallery has a reputation for the Flom paper, which is absolutely gorgeous, but I think it's maybe less granulating than other brands. There are brands that are more granulating compared to Rosa Gallery. And then we have our last PB28, which is Cobalt Blue Light by Schminke. And it's not so light, but they call it light maybe to differentiate it from the cobalt blue hue that they have that doesn't use PB28. And this is beautiful. Schminke is always lovely. And this is the Cobalt Blue Light, our last PB28. So they're all very different, I think. They're not as consistent as I expected them to be. This is the Cobalt Blue hue by Schminke. If someone has issues, maybe health issues in using cobalt colors, they sell this hue produced with ultramarine PB29 and white PB4. Let's see if it looks like a cobalt or an ultramarine. Actually, yes, it's a good imitation of cobalt. The granulation is even better than the Cobalt Blue Light with PB28. It's a very nice imitation of the darker versions like Daniel Smith or Rembrandt or M. Graham. Very good imitation, this Cobalt Blue hue. Then I have Cobalt Blue, Blu di Cobalto by Maimeri Maimeri, and their watercolor line is called Maimeri Blue, but they're not using PB28. They use PB36, which is a pigment that I like very, very much. It's more used for cerulean, but they are labeling this as Cobalt Blue, Blu di Cobalto. and here it is. So it's very different, you see. It leans towards turquoise. Actually, it is used, this pigment, for cobalt turquoise. It's one of the pigments used for cobalt turquoise, but they use it as a standard cobalt blue in their range. Not extraordinary flown paper, but beautiful, beautiful color. And then, just for comparison, I'm swatching this blue by Paul Rubens that uses the same pigment. You see, it's very similar. It's very much the same. It's less pigmented than Maimeri, but it's absolutely the same color. Nice granulation as well. And then I'm swatching 3 colors that use a third pigment, PB74, and they called Cobalt Blue Deep. The 3 of them use PB74, which is a darker cobalt pigment. First one is Schminke, and it's very different. It's a red, it has a violet undertone, I think. It can replace ultramarine maybe, but definitely a violet undertone. It's very beautiful, completely different color from the previous pigments, but still a cobalt blue. Then we have same pigment, same name by Maimeri. Maimeri is living a very good moment, I think, because more and more artists are using it. It's a traditional Italian brand. I remember my mom, she was an artist, and she used Maimeri. I was little. I never thought I would paint myself. I went to business school at university. I have worked in corporate marketing my whole life, so you see. It's a way to stay close to my mom, even today. Although she is not living any longer, but this is very different from this one. It's less violet. It's very beautiful also. And then we have queen or king of all colors for me, which is Winsor and Newton. I know I will never be disappointed by Winsor and Newton. It's benchmark for me. And this is even more different. So you see how the brand can make a difference. It's so much fun to swatch these colors next to each other. This is warmer, even warmer. Okay, I'll let this dry and I'll be back. You know what? I'm cleaning my palette and I'll try some mixes with these different blues. As usual, I will use my Paul Rubens palette as much as I can for my mixes, and I will start with PB28. So PB28 here, cadmium yellow, cadmium orange, even violet with cadmium orange if you insist. Other red. This is a blue purple. Very pretty, beautiful purple. Now burnt sienna. A beautiful grey. A very lovely granulating grey. And now PB36. It's more vibrant with PB36. Slightly cooler. I like to let them mix on paper. Now orange. Muted red. But if I add more blue, I get this lovely muted violet. A reddish violet. Oh no, I made a mistake. This was madder red, so with orange. This is orange. I mix madder red. That's why I got this blue purple. So just cross them. This is some orange, some other red, and some blue. And this is with orange. And now with burnt sienna. A different shade. It's more steel. You see, compared to the previous one. Now PB74. This beautiful shade of blue. I will mix them directly on paper. Cadmium, you know, is opaque, so look at this. It's bleeding, it's wonderful. So it's a darker this glowing green. Orange. It's between a purple and a brick color. It's interesting. And the red, very bluish purple. Wow, this is so granulating. How beautiful. I love granulating purples. That's why nowadays I prefer to mix my purples, because I like them to granulate, especially for shadows. And sienna. A dark grey. This is a beautiful darker grey. Okay. This is totally wrong, but it's an interesting result. Now they're all dry. I can say that the PB36 leans a lot towards turquoise, and I realize it much more now that I compare it with my other PB28. The PB36 is definitely in the turquoise family. The 3 Cobalt Blue Deep PB74, they are very different. They are very strongly granulating. I don't know if you can see it. And I think that maybe the Schminke, which is slightly more muted, is my favorite in these. They're all very beautiful, but I like this Schminke very much. And then we have this richness of PB28, impossible to choose for me. I like granulation, so I would have a preference for those who granulate. This paper does not favor granulation very much. It's a cellulose, but it's the one that I use for all swatches, so I like to be consistent. The Rembrandt is really pretty. You can see the granulation, and the Lukas also. They're all very beautiful. Although they are different, I would like to work with them all. It's difficult for me to choose, but if I have to choose, like with my heart and my eyes as well, I would choose the Daniel Smith maybe first, the M. Graham, then the Sennelier, the Rembrandt, so the darker ones, and the hue is nice, but I don't know, I would prefer to work with a real cobalt color. The Cobalt light is nice, but no granulation. Rosa Gallery is also very nice, but granulation is not there. And they're all beautiful. Lukas, Winsor and Newton. So Cobalt is fantastic, used on its own for sky, but also it's a very good mixing blue for me. I use it a lot in mixes because of these granulating properties, and especially if mixed on paper. Look at these wonderful grays. Look at the color separation of PB74 with burnt sienna, with the burnt sienna glowing across, and the flocculation that happens in the darkest spots. And this happy accident is also very nice because it shows the wonderful color separation with orange and PB36. You get a warmer violet if you mix the two, and it's very interesting, the separation of the colors. Same with Mother Red. I think it's really worth mixing your own purple if you use Cobalt Blue, because of the wonderful color separation that you get because of the granulation. The greens are all glowing. I like them a lot. And this is also very nice green to mix. It's a yellowish green, even if you mix it with the dark cobalt, it's a glowing green. It's very, very nice. The grays are beautiful. It's not a mix that is very common. Usually people mix ultramarine and burnt sienna to get a gray, but look at how lovely it is with the dark cobalt. Okay, I hope you have become a little more familiar with this slightly underrated but wonderful color, the Cobalt Blue, especially the PB28. If you have appreciated my video, just give me a thumb up. That would be lovely, or even subscribe if you are interested in my contents. I would be very, very happy to know if you have a preference in Cobalt Blue, if you use it, or if you have a tendency to forget it, as I used to do in my the beginning of my journey as an artist. I was leaning towards ultramarine, but now I prefer Cobalt. And what is your favorite brand? What are your favorite mixes? I love your comments. They're always so enriching and interesting. So I'm waiting for your comments. Ciao, ciao. That's all for now. I'll see you in my next video. Ciao.